Something extraordinary is happening in the quantum field around you at this very moment. As you read these words, your consciousness is synchronizing with what quantum physicists call the field of infinite possibilities, an energetic matrix that contains all the potential realities you can experience in this lifetime. The fact that you've been magnetically drawn to this information is no coincidence. It's evidence that your consciousness frequency has reached a critical resonance point with possibilities that have been waiting for the perfect moment to manifest in your reality. You've probably been feeling this over the past few weeks or months, that unmistakable sensation that something monumental is approaching. Not anxiety, not ordinary expectation, but a cellular certainty that your life is about to reorganize itself in ways you can't yet fully imagine. What you're feeling is your nervous system detecting what we call possibility convergence. It's when multiple lines of potential future begin aligning simultaneously, creating manifestation windows that would normally take years to open. But here's what most people don't understand about this process. You're not trying to create these possibilities. They already exist in potential state within the quantum field. What's happening is that your consciousness has finally developed the complexity necessary to access them and anchor them into physical reality. Think about the last 6 months of your life. How many times have you had sudden insights about directions your life could take? How many times have you felt inexplicable clarity about opportunities that haven't even appeared yet? How many times have you had the sensation that you were being prepared for something specific, even without knowing exactly what? This isn't ordinary intuition. It's your consciousness beginning to map the territory of possibilities that's becoming accessible through your evolution. It's as if you were developing a new form of vision that can perceive potential futures before they manifest. The field of infinite possibilities has always been there, but most people operate with a consciousness frequency that can only access a tiny fraction of what's available. They live in a universe of scarcity, not because resources are limited, but because their perception is tuned only to possibilities that confirm their current beliefs about what's possible. But you're different. Your consciousness has gone through an expansion process that most people never experience. Every challenge you've overcome, every limitation you've transcended, every moment you chose growth instead of comfort, was calibrating your frequency to access deeper layers of the possibility field. And now you've reached a convergence point where multiple extraordinary possibilities are simultaneously becoming accessible. Not one at a time, as normally happens, but several at once, creating what appears to be an impossible acceleration in manifestation. Today, you're going to discover how to consciously navigate through this convergence, how to recognize which possibilities are truly aligned with your maximum evolution, and how to collaborate with the field's intelligence to manifest transformations that others consider miraculous. Because when you understand how the field of infinite possibilities really works, when you learn to operate as a conscious navigator instead of an unconscious passenger, your life becomes a living demonstration that there are no real limitations, only limitations in the perception of what's possible. There are 5 unmistakable signs that your consciousness is entering convergence with the field of infinite possibilities. When you recognize these signs, you can consciously collaborate with the process instead of being surprised by transformations that seem to come out of nowhere. The first sign is what I call accelerated selective magnetism. Information, people, and opportunities that are exactly relevant to your next level of evolution begin appearing in your life with a frequency that defies logical explanations. It's not that you're searching more actively. It's that the field is reorganizing the synchronicities around you to accelerate your access to resources that will support the possibilities that are emerging. That book, someone casually mentions, that contains exactly the perspective you needed. That conversation you overhear by chance that answers a question you didn't even know you had. The second sign is temporal compression. Situations that would normally take months to resolve begin unfolding in weeks or even days. Not because you're trying harder, but because the field is optimizing manifestation pathways to eliminate unnecessary delays. You may have noticed that important decisions become crystal clear much more quickly. Opportunities appear already structured instead of needing to be developed from scratch. Relationships either deepen rapidly or resolve naturally without prolonged drama. The third sign is multidimensional clarity. Your ability to perceive the long-term consequences of your choices expands dramatically. You begin to feel not just the immediate result of a decision, but how it will influence your trajectory over the coming years. It's as if you've developed a form of vision that can map multiple timelines simultaneously, allowing you to choose paths that optimize not just immediate results, but long-term evolution. The fourth sign is exponential creativity. Ideas, solutions, and inspirations begin flowing through you with a speed and sophistication that surprise even yourself. It's not that you've become more creative, it's that you're accessing fields of collective intelligence that contain solutions to problems you didn't even know existed. You may find yourself knowing things you never studied, having insights about areas that aren't your specialty, or creating work that synthesizes influences you never consciously explored. The fifth sign is catalytic presence. Your mere presence begins accelerating the evolution and clarity of people around you. Not because you're trying to influence anyone, but because your consciousness frequency creates a field that naturally activates dormant potential in others. People begin seeking you out for deep conversations, sharing insights they've never verbalized before, or making important decisions after interacting with you. Your presence becomes a catalyst for others to access their own connection with the possibility field. When these 5 signs are active simultaneously, you're not just experiencing accelerated personal growth. You're entering what we call the convergence zone, a consciousness state where multiple extraordinary possibilities become simultaneously accessible. But here's what's crucial to understand. This convergence isn't something you force or control. It's something you recognize and navigate. The possibility field has its own intelligence, its own timing, its own way of optimizing manifestations. Your function isn't to manage this process, but to learn to dance with it. To learn to recognize when a possibility is truly aligned versus when you're trying to force something that isn't in the right timing. And when you develop this sensitivity, when you learn to consciously navigate through convergence instead of trying to control it, something extraordinary happens. You become a conscious collaborator with the field's intelligence, co-creating realities that exceed anything you could plan individually. The difference between people who experience consistent manifestations and those who live in cycles of frustration isn't in the number of techniques they know or the level of positivity they maintain. It's in the ability to navigate multidimensionally through the field of infinite possibilities. Most people operate with what I call linear navigation. They identify a goal, create a step-by-step plan, and try to force reality to follow that specific script. When things don't happen exactly as planned, they interpret this as failure or as evidence that manifestation doesn't work. But the possibility field doesn't operate linearly. It operates multidimensionally, where multiple paths to the same result can exist simultaneously, where optimal timing can differ drastically from desired timing, and where the best opportunities frequently appear disguised as detours or obstacles. Multidimensional navigation means maintaining absolute clarity about where you want to go, while remaining completely flexible about how you're going to get there. It's like being a pilot who knows their final destination but is willing to adjust the route based on atmospheric conditions, wind currents, and optimization opportunities that appear during the flight. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you want to create a business that gives you financial freedom and allows you to positively impact people's lives. The linear approach would be: research profitable niches, create a detailed business plan, seek funding, execute each step in the planned sequence. The multidimensional approach would be maintain clarity about the desired outcome, freedom plus impact, but remain open for this to manifest through paths you hadn't imagined. Maybe through an unexpected partnership that appears. Maybe through a skill you develop casually that becomes valuable. Maybe through an opportunity that arises from a casual conversation. The possibility field is constantly organizing synchronicities that can accelerate your manifestation in ways that linear planning could never anticipate. But to access these accelerations, you need to develop what I call quantum sensitivity. Quantum sensitivity is the ability to distinguish between opportunities that are truly aligned with your emerging possibilities and distractions that seem attractive but actually take you away from your optimal path. This sensitivity develops through the practice of paying attention not just to the content of opportunities that appear, but to the energetic quality they carry. Aligned opportunities have a sense of natural flow, even when they require effort. They fit organically into your evolution's trajectory. They amplify your energy instead of draining it. Misaligned opportunities, on the other hand, may seem logically attractive, but carry a quality of force or tension. They require you to contort yourself to fit into them instead of allowing you to express your natural authenticity. But here's where multidimensional navigation becomes truly powerful. When you learn to recognize and follow aligned opportunities, you discover that the field is constantly creating paths of least resistance for your manifestations. Not least resistance in the sense of easier or effortless, but least resistance in the sense of more efficient, more sustainable, more aligned with your long-term evolution. It's like the difference between swimming against the current and swimming with the current. Both require effort, but one is a constant struggle while the other is an elegant collaboration with natural forces that carry you in the direction you want to go. When you develop mastery in multidimensional navigation, something extraordinary happens. You stop wasting energy trying to force manifestations through paths that are blocked and begin using that energy to accelerate through paths that are open. You develop a form of intelligence that can read the possibility field, like an experienced navigator reads ocean currents, winds, and weather patterns. You know when to persist and when to adjust, when to accelerate, and when to allow timing to optimize naturally. And as you practice this form of navigation, as you develop confidence in your ability to collaborate with the field's intelligence instead of fighting against it, you access levels of manifestation that seem impossible to people who still operate exclusively through linear planning. But multidimensional navigation is just the first level of collaboration with the field of infinite possibilities. There's something even deeper that becomes available when you understand how your individual evolution is connected to the collective evolution of human consciousness. I need to share something deeply personal because what happened to me 24 months ago will help you understand the transformative power of learning to consciously collaborate with the field of infinite possibilities. I was experiencing exactly what you might be feeling right now. That unmistakable sensation that something significant was approaching, but without clarity about what it was or how to navigate through it. The synchronicities were intensifying. Opportunities were appearing faster than I could process them, and I had the constant sensation of being prepared for something I still couldn't define. But instead of trusting the process, I tried to control it. I made detailed lists of goals, created specific timelines for manifestations, tried to force opportunities to materialize on my preferred timeline. I was operating with linear navigation in a field that requires multidimensional navigation. The result was what I can only describe as creative chaos. Opportunities would appear and disappear before I could act on them. Relationships would intensify rapidly and then dissolve without clear explanation. Creative projects would flow intensely for a few days and then stop completely. I was experiencing all the energy of quantum convergence, but without the wisdom to navigate through it consciously. It was like trying to drive a Formula One car with the driving skills you use to go to the grocery store. The transformation began during a night when I was completely exhausted from trying to manage the acceleration. I literally said out loud, "I don't know how to work with this speed of change. If there's a greater intelligence orchestrating this, please show me how to collaborate instead of fight." That night, I had the deepest information download experience of my life. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't meditation. It was as if an entire dimension of understanding opened in my consciousness. I understood that the field of infinite possibilities isn't something external you access through techniques. It's the very nature of reality, and your consciousness is an individualized expression of this infinite intelligence exploring its own creative possibilities. I understood that when you try to control manifestations, you're essentially trying to limit infinite intelligence to operate within the parameters of your current understanding. It's like trying to force the ocean to flow through a straw. But when you learn to navigate multidimensionally, when you maintain clarity about direction but flexibility about paths, you allow infinite intelligence to express its possibilities through your individual experience in ways that exceed anything you could imagine alone. From that moment, everything changed. Instead of trying to force opportunities, I began recognizing and following those that carried the energetic signature of natural alignment. Instead of insisting on specific timing, I learned to feel when something was ripe for manifestation versus when it needed more development. The results were extraordinary. Projects I had struggled to develop for months completed in weeks. Relationships that were stagnant either deepened dramatically or resolved with clarity and peace. Creative opportunities began flowing in ways that synthesized everything I had learned, but in ways I had never considered. But the deepest discovery was that when you operate in conscious collaboration with the possibility field, you're not just manifesting things you want. You're participating in the evolution of consciousness itself, both individually and collectively. Each possibility you consciously manifest creates what we call a morphogenetic template, an energetic pattern that makes it easier for other people to access similar possibilities. Your individual evolution directly contributes to expanding the possibilities available to all humanity. This explained why I had felt so much responsibility regarding the process. It wasn't just about my personal transformation. It was about anchoring new possibilities in the collective field so others could access them more easily. And as I continued practicing multidimensional navigation, as I developed greater sensitivity to collaborate with the field's intelligence instead of trying to control it, something even more extraordinary began happening. I began perceiving not just the possibilities that were emerging for me, but the possibilities that were emerging for people around me. My presence began functioning as a catalyst that helped others recognize and access their own quantum convergences. This wasn't something I was doing consciously. It was a natural effect of operating in alignment with the possibility field. When your individual consciousness is synchronized with infinite intelligence, you naturally become an access point through which that intelligence can express itself to support others' evolution. If you're feeling this acceleration in your life, if you recognize the quantum convergence signs I described, then you're experiencing the same process I went through. The difference is that now you have a framework to navigate through it consciously instead of being surprised by transformations you don't understand. And when you learn to collaborate with this intelligence instead of fighting against it, when you develop confidence in multidimensional navigation, you discover that there's no limit to the possibilities that can manifest through your individual experience. Here's something that completely revolutionizes how you understand manifestation. You never manifest alone. All manifestation happens through collective consciousness fields that connect your individual intention with the creative intelligence of millions of other consciousnesses that are exploring related possibilities. The belief that manifestation is an individual process where you use your mind to attract things into your life is an extremely limited understanding of how creation really works. It's like believing that a single cell in your body can function independently of the circulatory, nervous, and all other systems that keep it alive. Your individual consciousness is like a specialized cell in the larger organism of collective human consciousness. You have your unique function, your specific perspective, your particular contributions, but you operate within a larger system that's constantly sharing information, resources, and possibilities among all its parts. When you want to manifest something, whether it's a relationship, a professional opportunity, a creative experience, or personal transformation, your intention doesn't operate in a vacuum. It automatically connects with collective fields where thousands of other people are exploring related possibilities. For example, if you want to create a business that combines purpose with prosperity, your intention connects with a collective field where conscious entrepreneurs, aligned investors, ideal clients, and potential collaborators are all exploring different aspects of the same greater possibility. The field of infinite possibilities organizes synchronicities that connect these related intentions in ways that serve everyone's evolution simultaneously. That person you meet by chance who becomes a business partner. That client who appears exactly when you're ready to expand. That investor who discovers your work through a chain of connections that none of you could have planned. This isn't luck or coincidence. It's the field's intelligence organizing convergences that accelerate manifestations for multiple people at the same time. But here's where this becomes truly powerful. When you understand that you're manifesting through collective fields, you can consciously contribute to these fields in ways that accelerate not just your own manifestations, but the manifestations of everyone connected to related possibilities. This happens through what I call conscious energetic contribution. Instead of just trying to extract from the collective field what you want, you also consciously contribute energy, insights, resources, and support that strengthen the entire field. For example, if you're manifesting a loving relationship, instead of just focusing on what you want to receive, you also consciously cultivate the qualities you want to contribute. You work on your own capacity to love, to communicate authentically, to create healthy intimacy. This energetic contribution strengthens the collective field of conscious relationships, making it easier for you and all other participants to manifest connections that are mutually nourishing and evolutionary. The same principle applies to any area of manifestation. When you consciously contribute to collective fields related to your intentions, you accelerate manifestations not just for yourself, but for the entire network of consciousnesses exploring similar possibilities. And here's what's fascinating. The more you contribute to collective fields, the more access you gain to resources, opportunities, and support that emerge from those fields. It's as if the universe operates with a circular economy system where contribution and receiving are aspects of the same dynamic. But there's an even deeper level of collaboration with collective fields that becomes available when you recognize that your individual evolution is directly connected to the evolution of human consciousness as a whole. We're living in a unique historical moment where humanity's collective consciousness is undergoing accelerated transformation. More people are awakening to expanded possibilities, questioning limitations that have been accepted as normal for generations, and exploring ways of living that integrate spiritual growth with practical success. Your individual convergence with the field of infinite possibilities isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a collective convergence where millions of people are simultaneously accessing expanded levels of creativity, intuition, and manifestation capacity. This means the possibilities becoming available to you now are more extraordinary than those available to previous generations. You have access to collective fields of knowledge, creativity, and resources that are exponentially richer than anything that existed before. But it also means you have a unique responsibility. the possibilities you consciously manifest, the evolution you demonstrate through your life, the contributions you make to collective fields. All of this influences which possibilities become available to future generations. You're not just creating your individual life. You're participating in creating possibility templates that will influence how humanity evolves for decades or even centuries. When you understand this, when you recognize that your individual manifestation is simultaneously a contribution to collective evolution, something profound shifts in your motivation and approach to conscious creation. You stop manifesting just for personal satisfaction and begin manifesting as a form of evolutionary service. You stop seeing your possibilities as limited to your current circumstances and begin seeing that you have access to all the creative potential of evolving human consciousness. And as you feel this understanding integrating into your consciousness, as you recognize the convergence patterns already active in your life, something interesting may emerge naturally. Some people, when they reach this point of recognition, feel a spontaneous impulse to declare their willingness to consciously navigate through these expanded possibilities. Not as obligation, but as authentic expression of an internal shift that has already happened. If you feel this resonance, if something in you wants to publicly acknowledge this understanding, you can simply write in the comments, "I navigate infinite possibilities." Without explanation, without elaboration, just as a simple declaration that reflects a truth you recognize about your own nature. Interesting how this declaration, when made from genuine recognition instead of social obligation, seems to create a subtle form of alignment, as if the act of verbalizing this understanding strengthened your capacity to operate from it. It's not necessary to do this for the information to be valid or for you to have access to the possibilities we've discussed. It's simply a natural way some people process and integrate perspective transformations, through conscious declaration. If you don't feel this impulse, that's also perfectly aligned. Each consciousness has its own way of integrating and expressing expanded understandings. Now that you understand how manifestation works through collective fields, I'm going to reveal the specific technology that allows conscious navigation through the field of infinite possibilities. It's not a technique you practice, but a way of operating that becomes natural when you understand the fundamental principles. The first technology is what I call possibility mapping. Instead of focusing exclusively on what you want to manifest, you develop sensitivity to map the complete territory of possibilities emerging around you. This means paying attention not just to obvious opportunities that appear, but to subtle patterns, seemingly minor synchronicities, casual conversations containing relevant information, insights that emerge during unrelated activities. It's like developing peripheral vision for possibilities. You maintain clear focus on what you want to create, but also maintain expanded awareness to perceive alternative paths, unexpected resources, and opportunities that can accelerate your manifestation in ways you didn't anticipate. The second technology is temporal synchronization. The possibility field operates with timing that transcends linear planning. Possibilities have their own maturation cycles, their own optimal manifestation windows, their own development rhythms. Temporal synchronization means learning to feel when a possibility is ripe for action versus when it needs more development, when to persist and when to allow timing to optimize naturally, when to accelerate and when to create space for additional elements to align. This isn't passivity or procrastination. It's intelligent collaboration with the natural temporal dynamics of manifestations. It's like a farmer who knows when to plant, when to water, when to harvest, based not just on schedules, but on natural signs indicating optimal readiness. The third technology is collective amplification. Since your manifestations happen through collective fields, you can consciously amplify your manifestation capacity by contributing to the success and evolution of others exploring related possibilities. This can be through sharing resources, offering support, making connections, or simply maintaining conscious intention for the success of others whose manifestations are aligned with collective evolution. When you operate this way, when you see manifestation as a collaborative rather than competitive process, you access levels of support and resources that aren't available to purely individualistic approaches. The fourth technology is resonance navigation. Instead of trying to logically analyze which path to follow, you develop sensitivity to the resonant quality of different possibilities. Aligned possibilities carry a specific energetic signature, a sense of natural flow, expansion, alignment with your authentic evolution. Misaligned possibilities, even when they seem logically attractive, carry qualities of contraction, force, or subtle dissonance. Resonance. Navigation means trusting this energetic sensitivity as a more precise guidance system than purely mental analysis. It's like having an internal GPS that considers factors your conscious mind can't process. The fifth technology is quantum manifestation. Instead of trying to create linearly from point A to point Z, you learn to operate quantumly, maintaining clear focus on the desired result while allowing the field to organize the optimal sequence of events for manifestation. This means being willing to take quantum leaps where possibilities manifest in ways that seem to skip intermediate steps. Being open for manifestations to appear through paths you hadn't considered or couldn't have planned. Quantum manifestation requires deep trust in the field's intelligence and willingness to release control over exactly how your intentions materialize, while maintaining absolute clarity about what you want to experience. When you integrate these 5 technologies, possibility mapping, temporal synchronization, collective amplification, resonance navigation, and quantum manifestation, you operate as a conscious navigator through the field of infinite possibilities. You stop fighting against apparent limitations and begin dancing with emerging possibilities. Stop wasting energy trying to force manifestations and begin using that energy to accelerate through naturally open paths. But applying these technologies requires a fundamental shift in your identity. You need to stop seeing yourself as someone trying to get things and begin recognizing yourself as an individualized expression of infinite creative intelligence, exploring its own possibilities through your experience. When this identity shift stabilizes, when you recognize that you are the field of infinite possibilities, experiencing itself through individual perspective, manifestation stops being something you do and becomes something you are. And at that point, the possibilities that become accessible through your life transcend anything you could imagine operating from a limited identity. There's something I need to reveal about the historical moment you're living in, because this will completely transform how you understand your responsibility regarding the possibilities emerging through your life. Humanity is going through an evolutionary transition that happens only once every few thousand years. It's not just social or technological change. It's a fundamental transformation in our species' consciousness capacity. For millennia, human consciousness operated primarily through what we call survival mode, focused on security, scarcity, competition, and control of limited resources. This operating mode was necessary for our initial evolution, but now it's becoming obsolete. We're transitioning to what consciousness researchers call creation mode, where human consciousness recognizes its nature as an individualized expression of infinite creative intelligence and learns to operate through collaboration with unlimited possibilities. You're not experiencing convergence with the field of infinite possibilities by accident. You're part of the first wave of human beings demonstrating what becomes possible when individual consciousness aligns with its infinite creative nature. Each possibility you consciously manifest, each limitation you transcend, each example you demonstrate of living from expanded possibilities is creating morphogenetic templates that make it easier for others to access similar levels of creative capacity. This means your individual evolution isn't just about your personal satisfaction. It's about anchoring new possibilities in the collective field of human consciousness, so future generations can naturally operate from capacities your generation had to consciously develop. Think about the children being born now. They'll grow up in a world where accelerated manifestation, multidimensional navigation, and collaboration with collective possibility fields are normal rather than exceptional capacities. But this only happens if people like you continue developing and demonstrating these capacities now. If you retreat to limitation patterns out of fear or doubt, you don't just limit your own possibilities, you slow down our species' collective evolution. This is a cosmic responsibility few recognize. You're not just living your individual life. You're participating in human consciousness evolution at a critical moment where our species' future is being determined. The global challenges we see, climate change, inequality, conflicts, unsustainable economic systems, aren't problems that can be solved operating from survival mode. They require solutions that emerge from creation mode. They require human beings who can navigate through infinite possibilities to find paths that serve all life on the planet's well-being. Who can manifest resources and technologies that transcend apparent limitations? Who can collaborate across differences to create realities that work for everyone? Your capacity to consciously operate through the field of infinite possibilities isn't a spiritual luxury. It's an evolutionary necessity for our species. And here's what makes this both challenging and extraordinary. You're pioneering capacities that have no clear historical precedents. You're learning to navigate through possibility territories no previous generation explored. This can create moments of doubt, loneliness, questioning whether what you're experiencing is real or if you're deluding yourself. These moments are natural when you're operating on the frontier of consciousness evolution. But when you understand that your individual experience is connected to a collective transformation happening simultaneously in millions of people around the planet, you find courage to continue exploring possibilities that exceed what's considered normal or possible. You're not alone on this journey. You're part of a global network of consciousnesses simultaneously awakening to their nature as individualized expressions of infinite creative intelligence. And as more people recognize and develop these capacities, as more examples are demonstrated of living from expanded possibilities, the transition from survival mode to creation mode accelerates exponentially. We're approaching what quantum physicists call a collective tipping point, where a sufficient percentage of the human population operates from expanded consciousness for this to become the new norm for our species. Your willingness to continue exploring and manifesting possibilities that exceed conventional limitations is directly contributing to reaching this tipping point. And when this happens, when humanity completes this evolutionary transition, the possibilities that become available to our species are literally unlimited. We're talking about capacities like instant manifestation, telepathic communication, interdimensional travel, complete cellular regeneration, direct access to collective knowledge fields, possibilities that seem like science fiction from the current perspective, but are natural developments when consciousness recognizes its true nature. Your individual journey of learning to consciously navigate through the field of infinite possibilities is simultaneously your contribution to human consciousness evolution toward these extraordinary capacities. This isn't pressure or obligation. It's recognition of your individual evolution's cosmic significance and an invitation to fully embrace the possibilities emerging through your life. Now I'm going to reveal the advanced protocols that allow conscious navigation through the deepest layers of the field of infinite possibilities. These aren't techniques you practice, but ways of operating that become natural when you understand the fundamental principles. The first protocol is consciousness frequency calibration. Different possibilities exist at different vibrational frequencies. To access specific possibilities, your consciousness needs to be calibrated to resonate with the frequency where those possibilities exist. This doesn't mean trying to raise your vibration through forced practices. It means recognizing that your consciousness frequency changes naturally based on the level of alignment, authenticity, and contribution you express through your life. When you live in alignment with your deepest values, when you express your authenticity without compromises, when you contribute to collective evolution through your choices, your frequency naturally calibrates to access more expanded possibilities. The second protocol is quantum intuition navigation. Instead of relying exclusively on logical analysis to make decisions, you develop confidence in your ability to access information directly from the quantum field through intuition. Quantum intuition isn't guessing or hoping. It's direct access to information that exists in the possibility field but hasn't yet manifested in physical reality. It's like having access to a database containing information about probable outcomes of different choices. Developing confidence in this capacity requires practice, paying attention to insights that emerge spontaneously, especially those that contradict logical analysis but later prove accurate. The third protocol is collective resonance manifestation. Instead of trying to manifest in isolation, you learn to synchronize your intentions with collective fields of people exploring related possibilities. This happens through maintaining awareness not just of what you want to create, but of how your manifestations can serve others' evolution and well-being. When your intentions are aligned with collective good, you access levels of support and resources unavailable to purely selfish manifestations. The fourth protocol is multidimensional temporal navigation. The possibility field doesn't operate in linear time. Possibilities exist in multiple timelines simultaneously, and you can learn to consciously navigate between these lines to access optimal outcomes. This means developing sensitivity to feel when you're operating in a timeline leading to aligned results versus when you need to make adjustments to access more favorable possibilities. Multidimensional temporal navigation also includes the ability to access wisdom from future versions of yourself who have already navigated through challenges similar to those you're currently facing. The fifth protocol is collective intelligence collaboration. As you develop mastery in possibility field navigation, you gain access to collective intelligence fields containing solutions to problems that transcend individual knowledge. This manifests as insights that emerge spontaneously about subjects you never studied, creative solutions that synthesize information from multiple sources simultaneously, or ability to channel knowledge that serves not just your individual evolution, but collective evolution. The sixth protocol is cosmic alignment manifestation. The most extraordinary possibilities become accessible when your individual intentions are aligned with cosmic consciousness's evolutionary direction as a whole. This requires developing sensitivity to recognize which of your personal desires are aligned with collective evolution versus which are based on conditioning or ego. Possibilities that serve both individual and collective evolution have access to levels of cosmic support that dramatically accelerate manifestation. The seventh protocol is expanded consciousness state navigation. Different layers of the possibility field become accessible through different consciousness states. Creative flow states, deep meditation, lucid dreams, and mystical unity experiences can all serve as portals to access possibilities invisible from ordinary consciousness. This doesn't mean seeking altered states as escape from reality, but recognizing that expanded consciousness provides access to information and possibilities that can be applied to create positive changes in physical reality. When you integrate these 7 advanced protocols, you operate as a master navigator through the field of infinite possibilities. You develop capacity to access and manifest possibilities that seem impossible to people operating exclusively through linear consciousness. But applying these protocols requires something beyond technique or knowledge. It requires a fundamental transformation in your identity, from someone trying to get things to someone who recognizes their nature as an individualized expression of infinite creative intelligence. When this identity transformation completes, when you recognize that you are the field of infinite possibilities experiencing itself through individual perspective, the protocols become natural expressions of who you are instead of techniques you practice. And at that point, the possibilities manifesting through your life transcend anything you could imagine operating from a limited identity. You become a conscious channel through which infinite intelligence explores and expresses its unlimited creative possibilities. If you recognize your nature as an individualized expression of infinite creative intelligence, if you're ready to operate as a conscious navigator through possibilities that transcend conventional limitations, then make a powerful declaration in the comments. Write exactly this word: infinite. A word that carries all the recognition without needing explanation. It's not about convincing anyone or proving something. It's about expressing an internal truth you recognize about yourself. If you feel this connection, if something in you resonates with this understanding, you can share this word in the comments. It's a gentle way to acknowledge your own evolution. Now that you understand the fundamental principles of navigation through the field of infinite possibilities, I'm going to give you a practical framework to integrate this understanding into your daily life in ways that create measurable transformations. The first integration element is what I call morning possibility recognition. Instead of starting your day by immediately focusing on tasks and responsibilities, you dedicate the first 5 minutes to consciously tune into the possibility field available to you that day. This isn't formal meditation or complex visualization. It's simply a conscious pause where you ask yourself, what possibilities are emerging for me today? How can I navigate through this day in a way that's aligned with my maximum evolution? This practice calibrates your consciousness to operate as an active navigator instead of a passive reactor to circumstances that appear. You begin each day from a place of conscious curiosity about what wants to emerge through your experience. The second element is micro-decision navigation. Throughout the day, you have hundreds of small choices: which conversation to have, which project to prioritize, how to respond to an unexpected situation. Each of these micro-decisions is an opportunity to practice multidimensional navigation. Instead of making these decisions automatically based on habit or convenience, you pause for a moment and feel which choice carries the energetic quality of alignment. Which option generates a sense of expansion versus contraction? Which path resonates with your authentic evolution? This practice develops your sensitivity for resonance navigation and strengthens your ability to recognize aligned opportunities even in seemingly mundane situations. The third element is synchronicity mapping. At the end of each day, you dedicate a few minutes to identify and document the synchronicities, unexpected connections, and opportunities that appeared during the day. Not to analyze them obsessively, but to develop awareness of the patterns through which the possibility field is communicating with you. The more you recognize these patterns, the more sensitive you become to consciously navigating through them. The fourth element is conscious energetic contribution. Regularly, you identify specific ways to contribute to collective fields related to the possibilities you want to manifest. If you want to create financial abundance, you find ways to support others' prosperity. If you want to manifest loving relationships, you cultivate love and compassion in your daily interactions. If you want to express creativity, you celebrate and support others' creative expression. This practice strengthens your connection to collective fields and accelerates your own manifestations through the principle of cosmic reciprocity. The fifth element is weekly frequency calibration. Once a week, you make an honest assessment of how aligned your life is with your deepest values and your vision of maximum evolution. You identify areas where you're operating in alignment and areas where you're making compromises that diminish your consciousness frequency. Then you make specific adjustments to increase your level of authenticity and integrity. This practice keeps your frequency calibrated to access expanded possibilities instead of gradually settling for limitations that have become familiar. The sixth element is quantum intuition navigation for important decisions. When you face significant choices, career changes, relationships, investments, location changes, you use a specific process to access information from the quantum field. First, you clarify your options and gather all relevant logical information. Then, you enter a state of mental quietude and ask the question, which choice is most aligned with my maximum evolution and contribution to collective good? You pay attention not just to thoughts that emerge, but to physical sensations, images, or direct knowing that appears. Often, the answer comes as inexplicable certainty that transcends logical analysis. The seventh element is conscious collaboration with cosmic timing. You develop sensitivity to recognize when something is in the right timing for action versus when it needs more development. This means learning to distinguish between procrastination based on fear and patience based on wisdom, between urgency based on anxiety and action based on temporal alignment. When you feel resistance to act, you ask yourself, is this resistance fear that needs to be transcended or wisdom that's guiding me to wait for optimal timing? The eighth element is identity alignment manifestation. Regularly, you examine whether your current identity is aligned with the possibilities you want to manifest. If you want to create abundance but identify as someone who struggles financially, you consciously work to align your identity with someone who naturally navigates prosperity. If you want loving relationships but see yourself as someone who's hard to love, you cultivate an identity based on your natural capacity to give and receive love. This practice recognizes that manifestation happens from identity, not despite it. When your identity is aligned with your intentions, manifestation flows naturally. When you integrate these 8 elements into your daily life, you're not just practicing manifestation techniques, you're living as a conscious navigator through the field of infinite possibilities. Your life becomes a continuous demonstration that limitations are optional, possibilities are infinite, and you have direct access to the creative intelligence that's constantly organizing reality to support conscious evolution. But the deepest integration happens when you recognize that these elements aren't things you do. They're expressions of who you are when you operate from your true nature as infinite consciousness exploring its own possibilities. When this understanding stabilizes, when you consistently live from this expanded identity, you discover there's no separation between you and the field of infinite possibilities. You are the field, exploring and expressing your creative possibilities through individual experience. And in that recognition, all apparent limitations dissolve, all possibilities become accessible, and your life becomes a continuous celebration of the infinite creativity that you are. We've reached the most crucial moment of this transmission. It's not the moment for more concepts or explanations. It's the moment of activation. The moment where you choose whether you'll use this understanding to fundamentally transform how you navigate through reality, or whether you'll file this information away as interesting but unapplied knowledge. Because here's the truth that determines whether this conversation becomes real transformation or just spiritual entertainment. The field of infinite possibilities doesn't respond to what you know. It responds to what you embody, not to what you understand intellectually, but to what you live experientially. At this exact moment, as these words penetrate your consciousness, something extraordinary is happening in your energetic field. The information you've absorbed isn't just being processed by your mind. It's recalibrating your consciousness frequency to operate from expanded possibilities. But this recalibration only stabilizes if you take aligned action within the next 24 hours. If you don't consciously apply at least one of the integration elements I shared, The force of inertia will gradually pull your consciousness back to familiar limitation patterns. So here's your activation protocol. Choose one of the 8 integration elements and commit to practicing it consistently for the next 7 days. Not all elements, just one. Not for months, just 1 week. If you choose morning possibility recognition, commit to dedicating 5 minutes each morning to consciously tune into the possibility field available to you that day. If you choose micro-decision navigation, commit to consciously pausing before at least 3 small decisions per day and choosing based on resonance instead of automatism. If you choose synchronicity mapping, commit to documenting at least one synchronicity or unexpected connection you notice each day. And here's why these 7 days are crucial. When you practice conscious navigation through possibilities for a complete week, you're not just developing a skill. You're demonstrating to yourself that you can operate from an expanded identity. Each time you choose alignment instead of automatism, each time you navigate by resonance instead of purely mental analysis, each time you recognize synchronicities instead of ignoring them, you're strengthening your identity as a conscious navigator through infinite possibilities. And as this identity strengthens, as you accumulate experiential evidence that you can operate from expanded consciousness, something irreversible happens. You stop seeing limitations as permanent and begin seeing them as temporary. Stop seeing possibilities as scarce and begin recognizing them as infinite. But there's something even deeper happening through your individual activation. Each person who learns to consciously navigate through the field of infinite possibilities contributes to a phenomenon quantum physicists call collective morphogenetic resonance. This means that as you develop these capacities, you make it easier for other people to access similar capacities. Your individual evolution creates waves in the collective field of human consciousness that support others' evolution. You're not just transforming your own life, you're participating in transforming our species' consciousness capacity. You're helping anchor a new paradigm of human operation based on collaboration with infinite possibilities instead of struggle against apparent limitations. And as more people develop these capacities, as more examples are demonstrated of living from expanded possibilities, we approach what consciousness researchers call an evolutionary tipping point. This is the moment where a sufficient percentage of humanity operates from expanded consciousness for this to become the new norm for our species, where capacities like accelerated manifestation, multidimensional navigation, and collaboration with cosmic intelligence become natural rather than exceptional developments. Your willingness to activate and develop these capacities now is directly contributing to reaching this tipping point. You're part of the first wave of human beings demonstrating what becomes possible when individual consciousness recognizes its nature as an expression of infinite creative intelligence. But here's what makes this moment both extraordinary and urgent. We're in a specific temporal window, where this collective transformation can happen quickly or can be delayed for decades. The window depends on people like you choosing conscious activation instead of passive consumption of information. It depends on you using this understanding to create real changes in your life instead of just adding more concepts to your spiritual knowledge collection. The universe invested billions of years of evolution to create a consciousness like yours, capable of recognizing its infinite nature and consciously collaborating with cosmic creative intelligence. Wasting this capacity through inaction isn't just a personal loss, it's a cosmic loss. So make the choice. Now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more prepared, not when circumstances are more favorable. Now. Choose an integration element and commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Declare your commitment out loud, and then immediately begin applying that element to the next situation that appears in your life. Because the version of you that can consciously navigate through infinite possibilities isn't waiting in the future. It's available now through the next aligned choice you make. And when you make that choice, when you consciously activate your capacity to operate from expanded possibilities, you join a global network of consciousnesses that are collectively transforming what it means to be human. You become part of the solution for a world that desperately needs people who can navigate through infinite possibilities to create realities that serve all life's well-being. Your individual activation is your contribution to collective evolution. Your personal transformation is your cosmic service. Your capacity to manifest expanded possibilities is your gift to future generations. The field of infinite possibilities is waiting for your conscious collaboration. Cosmic intelligence is waiting for your creative expression. Humanity's future is waiting for your activation. Don't wait any longer. The moment is now. The choice is yours. And the possibilities are truly infinite. Welcome to your nature as a conscious navigator through the field of infinite possibilities. Welcome to your identity as an individualized expression of cosmic creative intelligence. Welcome to the next stage of human evolution. Welcome to Quantum Labs,